because those who abide in me and I in them bear much fruit. Because apart from me, you can do nothing. This seemingly impossible mission we have is God's mission. God's mission is accomplished through people. People of faith. People who understand that this is who we are and what we are called to do. It's God's mission, our hands. God's mission in our hands. We are bearers of the name of the family of God. We are connected. Think about that. Think about that for a moment. What does it mean to be a child of God? What does it mean to be a member of God's family? It means we're connected. And that means that we have power. To be a child of God means that we have power. We hear people say, I have connections. And it means I have access to power. I have access to wealth. I can get the job done. There's a story about another successful sales or businessman. He was invited to deliver a commencement speech at a school. And he selected as his topic, as his subject, how to succeed. As he entered the door leading into the auditorium, he noticed these words, or this word on the door, on the outside of the door, printed in big letters, push. And so he thought, push, that's a good word. That's the topic for my presentation today. When he hit the high point of his presentation, in his speech, he said, I can sum up my message in one word, and he pointed to the door. The students all turned and looked at the door, and then they all began to laugh. The speaker wondered what was going on, and he turned and he looked at the door, and printed on the inside of the door was not the word push, the word pull. That's how many people succeed, isn't it? Not because of their push, but because of their pull. Because we are connected. We are connected to someone who is powerful. Often we hear people say, it isn't what you know, it's who you know. When we say we are connected, we're saying that we have power. St. Paul put it very well, I think, in the 8th chapter of Romans, when he said, if God is for us, who can be against us? Who can be against us? Yes, we have the whole. We also, if we're connected, we have a presence. To be a child of the family means that we have a presence in our lives. We are not alone. We are not all by ourselves. Someone shares our life. Someone is there for us. Is there anyone sadder in this world than the person who is alone, who is not related to anybody, who is not connected? Many of you have had the experience of being cut off from someone you love by death, by divorce, or maybe just by distance. There is no more devastating experience in life than to be alone. Loneliness, a sense of isolation, can be overwhelming. All kinds of experience can cause us to feel disconnected. Tim Kimball tells about his mother who died of cancer. From the time that the doctors discovered her cancer to the time of her death was only about five months. Her decline was swift, and it was unstoppable. Surgery, radiation, chemotherapy, none of these things would make any difference, have any effect. It was difficult for the family to stand by and watch. Tim and his younger brother flew 2,000 miles to see her 3 times during that 5-month period when she was sick. During the last month, Tim called every day. Every morning he would call to see how she made it through the night. And then he called every evening to see how she made it through the day. And Tim's father stayed with his beloved wife every day. Tim's 3 brothers and his sister who lived in the area stopped by regularly to see how she was doing. Shortly before Tim's mom died, a wealthy, influential member of their small community was also admitted to the intensive care unit for observation. On the 3rd night of his stay in the hospital, he had a conversation with the nurse as she was preparing him to go to sleep for the night. Tim called the unit shortly after she finished with this gentleman, and she had to tell him about their conversation. conversation. Now, the nurse knew his family. He knew they were Christians. He knew they loved the Lord. And she was a Christian herself. And she knew of his mother's quiet and compelling witness. She told Tim about this man and how he was such a powerful man in their community. He wielded great influence. Even in the hospital, he was very influential. And yet, this powerful, influential man lay in that hospital room for 3 days without one visitor. He had a wife, he had children, but they had not come to visit him. As she was giving him his medication, he inquired about the patient in the private room across from him. Oh, that's Mrs. Kimball, he was sure glad. He wanted to know all about Tim's father and his brothers and his sister. She told him about all of them, and she mentioned how the 2 sons that lived out of town had flown to see her several times during her sickness and called daily to check on her status. He asked about Tim's mother's condition. Well, Mrs. Kimball will die any day now, the nurse said. If she lives to the end of the week, we'll all be surprised. At that point, the man dropped his head back on the pillow and became very quiet. And just as the nurse was about to leave his room, he looked up, and with tears in his eyes, he said, "You know," his voice became very husky, "I would gladly trade places with Mrs. Kimball and die a week from now. If for that week I could have a spouse and children who would care enough about me not to let me die alone." We all have a need to be in relationships with other human beings, relationships with our God. We have a need to be connected. We need to know that there are people who care about us. We need to know that we are not all by ourselves. Of course, this is where our faith comes in a powerful way. Our faith tells us that we are not alone. We are never out of God's care and concern. We are never alone, no matter how isolated our situation may seem. Mrs. Kimball was connected. To be connected is to have power. To be connected is to have an eternal presence. It's to know someone cares about us. And it also means to live a productive life. There are days when our mission can seem almost impossible. The reason many people fail to achieve great things in their lives is that they lack a focus. They lack a driving sense of purpose. They don't know where they're going. They don't know what they're about. They're like, remember Willie Loman and Arthur Miller's great play, The Death of a Salesman? They live their lives not knowing who they are, what they're about. And so they fail. They fail to make their mark in this world. If only we could be connected to that one who can give us a sense of purpose, a sense of mission, a sense of place in this world. There is where we find our good news for today. Because we know we cannot. Connected to the one who can give us power. Connected to the one who is a presence for us. Always there for us. The one who can help us live productive lives. The one who can make even the most impossible mission a possible mission. Jesus put it so well when he said, "I am the vine, you are the branches. He who abides in me and I in him, he it is that bears no fruit. If you abide in me and my word abides in you, ask whatever you will, and it will be done for you." That's a great truth. That's a great word for our lives. We are connected. We are named. Here is the secret of having hope, no matter what our situation. To be connected. To be connected to the one who is the ultimate source of power, to the one who will never forsake us, to the one who will enable us to live productive lives, meaningful lives. That all makes our mission possible. Christ is saying to us, I have the strength to provide all you need. I have the strength